Hello from a galaxy far, far away. This is Geopolitics lesson number 2, and the topic is multipolar world. We are living through an amazing transformation of the world order that typically happens every 100 or even 200 years. So if you look at the last 500 years, we had huge empires like the Dutch, Portuguese, Spanish, French, British, and then the American century that started in 1945. That American century is coming to an end. But if you look at the world's history over the last 10,000 years of human civilization, the world was always multipolar. There was never one power that ruled the world. After World War II, we had a unique situation where the world was sort of bipolar with the US and the Soviet Union. But after the USSR fell in 1991, the US became the super hegemon that ruled the world. But that came to an end in 2008, the financial crisis that proved the American economy and the European economy were basically a Ponzi scheme living on the ability to print money. And they had completely deindustrialized themselves and did not understand the importance of manufacturing. And that since the 1990s, we have seen that the outsourcing of manufacturing that led to a tremendous increase in the growth of China and actually the whole of Asia. And that's where the center of gravity has shifted. So if you look at the GDP of Asia, it's $42 trillion. That's much larger than the US or North America. And if you go by purchasing power or PPP GDP, then BRICS is actually larger than G7. And Asia is almost larger than the rest of the world. You can look at the key factors that determine the power of a country or a region. So that would be things like GDP, trade, manufacturing, patents, scientific publications, the size of the middle class, purchasing power. And in all those metrics, the number one region is Asia. And within that, it's China that accounts for much of Asia. And even though China has some problems with the slowdown, the real estate sector prices, shrinking workforce, they're still growing 2 to 3 times faster than the US. So China will surpass the US in nominal GDP by 2030, just like India will surpass Germany and Japan by 2030. So the future is going to be distributed power, a distributed geopolitical power, economic power, military power, and gone are the days when one country like the US can bomb any country at will, can pick up the phone and say, do this, or else I'm going to sanction you into oblivion. Those days will be gone because people will have a lot of choices. And even with the currencies, and we are seeing that in de-dollarization. So 40 more countries now want to join BRICS, and they're all going to be trading in their local currencies. They don't need to use the US dollar. That means the US will, first of all, lose its ability to bully other countries and to sanction other countries. And more importantly, the demand for dollar is going to go down precipitously. What does that mean? It's simple economics. Less demand means smaller price. The US dollar will not be as strong anymore. It'll become weaker relatively to other currencies. And that means the imports for the US will go up. That will affect the standard of living of Americans. And the US government won't be able to borrow trillions of dollars every year to uh, to enjoy the fake wealth because all they have is huge debt. The US federal government has $34 trillion of debt. And then the interest rates will go up. So when the value of the dollar goes down, the buyers of the US bonds will demand more yield or the interest rate. That means the US will be forced to go into austerity to slash their spending. And what does that mean? The US will eventually be forced to shut down many of its military bases. And when the US is shutting down military bases in, say, the Philippines and Japan, what happens? Those countries will not bow to the US anymore, and they will have their freedom to make new alliances. They could now become more friends with China. Similarly with Germany and others. So just imagine a Germany without US military. Then Germany will be free to seek rapprochement with Russia, and that'll be win-win for them. So for the whole world, without having to deal with a hegemon that micromanages them, there'll be more growth. There'll be more focus on trade and development, and countries will learn to use diplomacy to solve problems because no one country will be strong enough to bomb other countries. And we can see that already. Like, look at Houthis and Yemen. Why is Israel not able to go and defeat Yemen? Because we're told that Israel is so powerful. No, they had to get support from US and Europe, and they're forming a huge coalition of like 15 major countries to fight one little Yemen. But of course, this may be a trick in that those 15 countries might actually eventually try to defeat Iran. Because from the US point of view, the trio of Russia, China, and Iran is the biggest threat to American hegemony. That's why the US tried to crush Russia, and they waged this proxy war with Ukraine, and they tried the shock and awe sanctions, and the goal was to defeat Russia. But the multipolar world is already here. So the global south totally ignored the US and they helped out Russia. And the same thing might happen with Iran. Maybe Russia and China will come to Iran's help and will save Iran. And then the transformation to a multipolar world will be unstoppable. Hope you found that helpful. Talk to you next time. Thank you.